Hi, Gary Chillingworth here for Airgun World magazine, Shooting and Country TV. Welcome to Life at the Range. Today's video is all about the difference between competing and practice or training, and how important it is to actually train as opposed to just competing. Now, before we get on to that, time to pay the bills. If you are interested in reading my monthly column in Airgun World, we've arranged a discount. I think it's 20% off, and it gives you 13 copies for £43. The link is in the description below, and you'll get a discount and get it delivered straight to your house. So 43 quid a year, I think it is, for 13 issues. Much better or much cheaper than buying it in the shops. So what is the difference between training or practice and competing? I've been sitting here desperately trying to think of a really good analogy to put this across. And all I can think of is back in the day when I used to play golf before I was old, fat and broken. I used to be an okay golfer, round about a 20 handicap. I used to go around a course in low 90s, but I could never break into the 80s. I certainly couldn't break into the 70s. Until somebody said to me, how often do you practice? I said, well, I play 18 holes every single week, sometimes 36. And they went, that's not practicing, that's competing, that's playing. When do you practice? I said, well, what do you mean, when do I practice? They said, right, if you play 18 holes of golf, hardest club to hit in the bag, apart from a 1-iron, is a driver. It's because it's the longest club to hit, it's the longest physical club, and it's very, very easy to slice. And if you're me, it's very easy to slice. That's when the ball goes whoosh, like that and out of bounds. How many times do you use a driver in a round? I said, I don't know, 12, 13, because you only ever hit it off the tee. They said to me, how often do you use your 4-iron, a long iron club, very hard to hit? Oh, probably 4 or 5 times. They said, so you're only hitting that club 10, 13 times a week, and you think that you're going to get better? And I went, that's a good point. He said, don't play golf for a month. Don't go to the course for a month. Go to the driving range, buy a bucket of balls and work on your driver. Do 30 shots with the driver, 30 shots with your 4-iron, 30 shots with the wedge. Go on to the putting green, just practice your putting, different lengths. See how how making mistakes with your putting style can actually affect the way you putt. Work on specifics in your game. And I went, that makes a lot of sense. So that's what I did for 2 months. All I did was go to the range, work on fixing all of the bad bits in my golf game. I went back and I shot an 85. Best score I'd ever shot. Training and practice is far more important than competing. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our TX200 and we are going to get a baseline about how accurate we are. Okay, so here we are out on the range. And this is the most important thing before you start any training. You need to build a baseline. Now, a baseline is purely there because if you want to start learning how to shoot in the wind, or you need to shoot elevation, or you need to work out your ranges, if you're not putting pellet on pellet on pellet consistently, or not even pellet on pellet, but like 20, 25 yards, you should be making a group where all pellets are touching each other, certainly with a PCP. If you haven't got that type of consistency, there isn't really a lot of point in trying to learn other bits, because at that point, do you know if it's your shooting capability or is it the wind moving the pellet left to right or up or down? So you need to start building your baseline consistency to start with. So we've got a target set out at 25 yards and we're going to try with our TX200. with our beautiful TX, and we will see what kind of groups we can get at 25 yards. And if we get our baseline, then we'll be able to move on and start doing the rest of our training. Okay, so we'll put a marker down. Okay, there we go. And we'll put, I don't know, 2 or 3 shots on top. For those of you interested in TX 200 Hunter Carbine, Hugget scope, Vortex Gen 2 telescopic sight, and I'm actually trying, usually you'd have seen me shoot with a scope maximizer. I'm trying to learn to shoot without one. See the way that feather's moving? Telling me we've got a good left to right wind. Well, I'll take that. I think that pretty much went through the same hole. Maybe I should do bench rests with a Springer. Don't worry, the next 2 will be not as good. Again, very happy with that. Now, as you can see, one of our first training skills is I'm treating every shot as if it was a shot in competition. We all like to get down and shoot our gun, but when I get myself into position, I lower the rifle down, I place my head on the scope, I put the crosshairs into where I need to be. I then move my head about to make sure that I'm absolutely dead central. I breathe. First stage. And forget to take the safety catch off. So restart. This is part of your training thing that you do. When you make a mistake, don't try and force your way through it. Come off and go again. Head down on the comb, scope in the correct position, make sure you're dead center, and only when the crosshairs are in the kill, finger on the trigger, take up the first stage. And there you have a solid shot. Maybe not as good as the previous 2, but I was talking to you. And that training technique of when things start to go wrong, somebody might talk to you, you have to come off the gun because you think something has moved, go back into your rhythm and into your routine, and don't try and ignore steps 1, 2 and 3, because if you do, things are going to go wrong. So we now know that the gun is good, and so now we can start our next training skill. Okay, so our next thing that we want to do is we want to look at elevation. Not all targets are going to be at the same height as the target you're probably training on. Certainly if you're going into competition, you're going to be shooting at targets up trees. So what we need now is a ladder. Okay, so it's not massively high, and it's not really as high as I would ideally like it, but it's high enough. So we've got a target up there. It's full of sand so that we know it's a decent backstop, and I know my skill level will enable me to get within the box, so it's safe to shoot. But what I want to do now is I want to see whether or not elevation is affecting the rifle, or being a spring gun, because it's going to be recoiling downwards and possibly into the ground as opposed to along and into my shoulder, is that going to affect the level of accuracy? Am I going to have the same aim point as shooting a prone target? So now we're going to try and shoot it, and we're going to see how we go So this is our next training thing, shooting an elevated target and testing whether or not we'll have the same aim point. Okay, so here we have our target. Again, we're going to put a marker down. There's more wind up there. The rifleman's rule teaches us that if we're shooting above, I think it's 40 degrees, the pellet will hit above where we're aiming. This isn't 40 degrees, so I'm not sure whether or not this will hit on the same mark or above. Well, I'm fairly sure that went through the same hole. And as you can see, I'm still resting the butt of the rifle on the ground like I do in competition. I'm doing all of my usual checks. And there we go. So I now know that from a training point of view, if I shoot on the plane, I'm absolutely fine. And if I go up to sort of that level, to that kind of degree, the rifle is working well and I'm still getting the same level of accuracy. Now that's at 25 yards. But if I'm now looking through my scope and I'm now looking at 45 yards and I'm keeping it on that same plane, I'm now looking at maybe 20 feet, 25 feet in the air. So I know that the rifle is going to work in that axis and it's not going to dig into the ground and stop recoiling. So that is a good level of training. When you're shooting in competition, you're not always going to be able to shoot with the butt of the rifle on the ground. Quite often, call setters will put logs in front of you and force you up the peg. So that's what we're going to do next. Is our aim point when we're shooting up the peg the same as when we're shooting off the deck? Now, a lot of spring gun shooters, and very, very good ones, people like Brett Holloway, they always shoot up the peg. I struggle to do it because I'm not as good as they are. So we're going to put an aim marker. Okay, there's our mark. Now I know that when I shoot positionals, I shoot supported standing, supported kneeling and things like that. My pellets hit left because my head position is slightly different. Because when I'm here, my head position is very different to when I'm here because my head is more upright. So am I looking through a different part of my eye? Okay, so same aim point as prone, up the peg. Well, that was good. I was happy with that. Maybe Brett has got a point. And you see there, I've dropped low. And that was because I don't think my head position was the same the second time as it was the first. Let's give it a go again. I might have been gripping the rifle tighter. Last one. We'll aim at the original spot. Okay, I'm not sure if that one went slightly higher or slightly lower, but this has now taught me that my skill level shooting up the peg needs to be improved. I'm clearly not as accurate as I am with the gun rested on the deck. So I need to work out, is it my head position? Is it my breathing? Is it the fact that I'm gripping the rifle too hard because I'm trying to grip the peg and the rifle? And so these are things that we need to build on, so we need to work on. So again, that's something we need to train for. Okay, so we've been out on the range and we've gone through some very, very basic training techniques. We've got our baseline at 25 yards and we were essentially putting pellets through a similar size hole with a spring gun. We then went up, we then shot elevated and then we shot up the peg. These are three very basic techniques that you can do at home. But what I would like you guys to do is in the comments below or drop me an email at lifeattherange@gmail.com is let me know either your training techniques or if you have a weakness within your shooting ability that you've identified, let me know what that is and I will try and address it in a future video. We're going to do I think we're going to do a little series as our second video of the month where we're actually going to start doing some training because God knows I need it. I'm luckily at the point now where I'm going to start competing more. So I'm hoping that with the nationals coming up, I'm going to start shooting better because for me, my fundamentals I know are okay, but I'm ring rusty. I need to get out there and I need to start competing more. I need to improve my physicality. I need to get stronger. I need to fix my mental side of shooting. I need to improve my focus because I've noticed that I often start well and taper off at the end. And I know that's probably down to fatigue or dehydration or something like that. But I need you to let me know what you want me to look at. Well, I hope that today's video has been useful to you, but I think more importantly, I hope it's made you think about the way you approach your shooting. And together, I'm hoping that we're all going to get better. Will you take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you on the range again very, very soon. And please stick in the comments below what you want me to look at, and I will hopefully try and get it done. Don't forget the code, I think it's AGWGC for 20% off on Airgun World. And if you want to read my drivel, I'm there every single month. Take care of yourselves and we'll see you soon. Ta-da!